Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming the It's Finally Fall book tag. This is one of my favorite tags to do. This is actually the very first video I uploaded to BookTube over 3 years ago now, and it's one of my classic favorites. I had to do it this year even though it's a little bit late. I usually do it beginning of September. It's like mid-October, so I am a little bit late, but I'm very excited to be bringing this to you anyway. I'm wearing my fall sweater because for the first time I don't have a Starbucks with me when I'm filming, which is kind of sad, but it's fine. I will say that the original video for this tag has actually been privatized, but it was created by Alina Melina, and I will leave a link to her channel if I can find it in the description box below. If not, I'll just leave her name for credit and list all the questions in the description box below as well. But without further ado, let's just get into my answers. So the first question is, in the fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. For this one, I couldn't not pick Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is a historical fiction paranormal fantasy book following our main character Noemi, who is living in 1950s Mexico City, living the high life, and one day she receives a letter from her cousin who is recently married to an English gentleman and has moved into his manor house in the rural part of Mexico, just outside the city, claiming that something is trying to kill her and the house is essentially haunted. In order to figure out if her cousin is okay and to kind of investigate these claims, Noemi ends up going and staying with them and gets caught up in the mystery that is this house. As per the title, it is a gothic horror story and it is absolutely incredibly vivid. This story is creepy, it is atmospheric, and it is absolutely gorgeous in its writing. I am obsessed with it. I need to reread it again very soon, but highly recommend if you're into gothic horror at all. The next question is, nature is beautiful but also fleeting. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. For this one, the heavy topic isn't loss or grief necessarily, but it is definitely got a heavy topic around it, and that is The Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. This book I read back in June, and it is one of my all-time favorite historical fiction books I've ever read in my life. This one is also set in 1950s, but it is set in San Francisco, California. And it follows our main character, Lily. Lily is the daughter of 2 Chinese immigrants and is 17 years old, going to high school and questioning her sexuality, especially when she meets her new friend, Kat. And the two of them start frequenting the local lesbian bar, the Telegraph Club. This book deals with a lot of heavy topics, including homophobia, racism, and the horrors that come along with that, especially when you consider that this is in 1950s and these clubs and bars were often raided and the members arrested simply for being gay. And there's a lot of heavy topics being discussed in this book, but it is one of the most beautifully written YA historical fiction books I have ever read in my entire life. The writing was absolutely gorgeous. You fall in love with Lily and her life, and you want her to be happy and to be successful and to be accepted, and it is just an absolutely gorgeous story that I think everybody should read. Next up, fall is back to school season, so name a nonfiction book that taught you something new. For this one, I definitely had to pick up Hood Feminism by Mikki Kendall, Notes on the Women That a Movement Forgot. This book deals with the topic of feminism, but not in the typical whitewash white feminism way or first wave feminism way. This book really talks about the fact that if your feminism isn't intersectional, it is not actually feminism, and deals with or discusses feminism in light of topics such as race and class and size and creed and all of these other different factors that are really important when discussing feminism, and many times people just chalk it down to a topic about gender, but it isn't. It is a topic about women in general and talking about equality for all, no matter your gender, but also no matter many other different factors in your life. It was an incredible read. It is part memoir as well, talking about Mikki Kendall's life herself and using her real life examples, which were also beautiful. I listened to the audiobook and it is an experience, so if you really want to read this book, I highly recommend the audiobook version because Mikki Kendall does narrate it herself as well, and I think nonfiction books narrated by the authors themselves are just top tier. I highly recommend this. If anybody calls himself a feminist, I think you should read this. Next up, In order to keep warm, it's good to spend time with the people you love. Name a fictional family, household, friend group that you want to be a part of. This one was easy for me. I want to be part of the Brown Sisters family from the Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert. So this is the second book, Take a Hint, Danny Brown, but there's also Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This is my new favorite romance trilogy. I am obsessed with all three of these books. I've read them twice now and I just absolutely adore them. I recommend them to all of my friends. But the Brown family seems so freaking fun. It has two, the matriarch and patriarch are two very like well-off, successful people. The grandmother is into yoga and is a lesbian, and then the three siblings of Chloe, Danny, and Eve are just so fun-filled and interesting characters, and their spouses as well, and their significant others, Red, Zaf, and Jacob, are just hysterical as well. And it looks like this family has so much fun that I just want to be like even on the sidelines of this family. It looks like such a great time. I want to see what Thanksgiving would be like for these guys. I definitely have to pick the Brown family. It's just too much fun, I can't not. Next up, the colorful leaves are piling on the ground. Show us a pile of colorful spines. This one was a lot of fun to make. I love this part of the It's Finally Fall tag. It is just so fun. And here is my stack. I love this. This is so fun. So in this stack, let me see what books I have. I have Honey Girl, The Last Wish, Rule of Wolves, Ray Bear, Vanishing Stare, Daisy Jones and the Six, Felix Ever After, and Prior to the Orange Tree. I've read all of these. I recommend all of these. So if you wanted to do like a screen grab and pick some books that look just as fall festive as I feel, this is it. Next up, fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fire. Name a book wherein somebody is telling a story. Again, this one I just couldn't not pick it, and that is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a loose retelling of Dracula's wives and is told from the point of view of Constanta, who is Dracula's first wife. She is writing this in second person, telling the reader, who is assumedly Dracula, the story of her and Dracula's lives from the moment they met to the moment their relationship ended. This is a beautiful story about abuse, emotional, physical, and mental. It's a great story about love as well. It has got pansexual, bisexual, and polyamorous relationships in it. It is absolutely gorgeously written, written in the form of a letter, and it is just astonishing. I need to reread it again already. It's very short, but it is just stunning in its prose, and just the subject matter was heart-wrenching. It made me cry. It was one of the best depictions of like an abusive relationship I've ever read in my entire life. Absolutely stunning. If you love vampires, if you love fall, if you love emotional stories, read this book. Just do it. Trust me. Next up, The Nights Are Getting Darker. Share a dark and creepy read. For this one, my initial thought was to go with Mexican Gothic because it's very dark and creepy, but then I remembered that there was another book I read back in the spring that gave me all of the creepy atmospheric vibes, and that was House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. This is a loose retelling of The 12 Dancing Princesses. It is a YA fantasy novel set in this world where the main character, Annalee, is the fourth daughter to this lord on this manor that is on this deserted kind of island. It is surrounded by the sea. It is dark, it is creepy. And when you are thrust into this story, you are following Annalee after 4 of her older sisters have now died under mysterious circumstances. Their father has just remarried, and Annalee and her siblings, as well as a family friend, discover this magical tunnel that leads them to an astonishing world full of balls and dances and colorful dresses, and they end up dancing the night away in these beautiful new slippers that they have been made. Every night they sneak away to do this dancing, but then you find out that this world that they're in is not exactly what it seems. I'm obsessed. This was so great. The setting of the island with the dark crashing waves and the rain and the atmosphere was just all there. It was creepy. I listened to the first bit of it on audio and I had to stop because hearing about like these haunting tales was just too much for me to listen to. I had to go back to reading it physically. Because for whatever reason, I think I'm like my mother like this, in this way, where reading it isn't as scary as listening to it or watching it. So Either way, I'm obsessed with this. If any of you want to read a creepy atmospheric read, if you like books set near the seaside or retellings of fairy tales, 100% give this one a go. Next up, the days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. For this one, I picked something a little bit unexpected. I picked a graphic novel, and that is Fangs by Sarah Anderson. This one is very topical in terms of spooky season, but it is not too spooky. It is definitely heartwarming and cute. This is the story of a vampire and a werewolf who fall in love, and every page is a tiny little vignette, a tiny little section of their lives, and they are just freaking hysterical. And it is just such a cute idea about a vampire and a werewolf falling in love. Like, it is absolutely adorable. The art style is really beautiful, and I'm freaking obsessed with this. I read this back out of the spooky season, and I need to read it again. Like, I'm obsessed. It is super cute, and I highly recommend it for spooky season in general, but also just at any time. It is just absolutely adorable. Next up, fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. This one, I originally had another middle grade on my list for this question because I typically choose a middle grade every time I do this tag. However, there's one book that I've been thinking about a lot in the last couple of weeks specifically that I have almost the entirety of the rest of the series and I just haven't picked it up yet. And that's The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is a historical fiction paranormal story following a group of kids in the 1920s in New York that all have different types of supernatural paranormal abilities. In this first book, they're all brought together to defeat this type of ghost, serial killer, demon kind of character. And between the 1920s New York vibe, the setting, and the amazing characters with all these crazy abilities, it's a perfect fall read, and I don't know why I haven't finished it yet. I adored The Diviners the first time I read it, and I absolutely couldn't get over how much I adored it. And now I have the next 2 sequels. There's actually 3 in total, and I need to read them ASAP because the vibes are just all there with this. The main character, Evie, is just hysterical. I find her so funny. This main character is sent to New York City to live with her uncle, who has a museum of curiosities, basically, and occult things, because she is just driving her parents crazy. She's very eccentric. She is very fun-loving, and they think if she goes to New York City and lives with her uncle, she'll kind of calm down a little bit. Evie ends up going with her uncle when he gets called to a crime scene where a strange symbol is found on the deceased, and Evie is worried that her supernatural ability will come to light and cause her more problems, but she finds out that her gift can actually help solve the murder. It's dark, it's creepy, and I'm obsessed with it, and I need to finish it ASAP. And in order to finish it, I want to reread the first one. Last but not least, fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite reading accessories. So for this one, my first one is obviously a cup of tea. I don't have one with me right now, which is kind of depressing, so I'm just gonna hold out this mug that I have full of bookmarks, but tea or coffee or any type of fall drink. I'm obsessed with cider right now. Anything warm and cozy. Next up, I always have to have a candle burning. As always, this is a pumpkin carving candle, and it is gothic and haunted mansion wallpaper inspired from Bath & Body Works, and I love it. It is a beautiful scent, and it is just nice and cozy, and gives me that crackling fire sound that is also beautiful while reading. Next up, for the first time, it's something different. I actually have my AirPods, or headphones in general. These ones are in a cute little avocado case. How adorable is this thing? I'm obsessed. But I've started listening to audiobooks more recently, which is super exciting for me because I never used to be able to listen to them, but I have been throwing on an audiobook quite regularly now, mostly when I'm playing a game like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing or Sims, something that is doesn't require a lot of thought. I will usually throw on an audiobook, or when I've started doing this when I'm listening to my lectures. I started doing some housework when listening to lectures because I'll just listen to them on my audio. I'll have it on my iPad. The slides will be streaming somewhere where I can see, and I'll run around doing dishes or something like that. And then the next step is going to be a fluffy cozy blanket because I like to be as cozy as possible. If you guys have watched my reading vlogs, you know that right beside me is a nice big blue reading chair, and that is where I do most of my reading if I'm not in the bath, because I read a lot in the bath. I'm just wild that way. But anyway, those are definitely my favorite cozy reading accessories right now. And finally, the last prompt is just to tag some other fall lovers. And so for this one, I'm actually going to just tag everybody who sees this and wants to do it. I think this is just like an annual tag for many people, but if you are new to BookTube or you've never done this before, I highly recommend you give it a go. It's super fun. I love the atmospheric vibes, and yeah, that is it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really does support my channel, and leave me a comment down below letting me know your favorite fall read or what you're most anticipating for the fall season. If you're new here, please subscribe. I put out new bookish and writing videos every week, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye-bye.